Hey everybody, it's Hale. Doing an update video today. I haven't done one in a while, so I wanted to update y'all on some things. How's it going, everyone? I am probably a year and 6 or 7 months on testosterone now. And I had, a lot of you probably know, I had top surgery last week on Wednesday. And I want to kind of tell everyone what that is because I'm sure most people don't really know. So top surgery, also called a double mastectomy, and that's basically for a lot of trans men have this done, and it's basically you have your breasts removed and your chest more masculine. Is that masculinized? I can't say that word. Um, and basically, what happens is there's a couple different methods depending on what size breasts you have and shape and all that stuff. But I had a double incision, which basically means I have a binder on right now to keep the um, stitches kind of safe and my chest safe for now. I'll get this off tomorrow, and then I can see what it looks like. But basically, what happens is for this type of surgery, they cut two lines right underneath your breasts. They liposuction out the fat, and then they trim the excess skin, stitch you back up, take off your nipples, resize them, and put them in a more masculine position. It sounds kind of gnarly. It's really not. It's really not that bad. You just go under general anesthesia, and they slice you open, and then you wake up and you get pain pills. So, but yeah, it's not too bad. I just can't move my arms too much, like up and down this way, for a while because of the stitches, and then I can't really lift anything heavy for a while. Um, but yeah, long term, you have two scars like underneath your pec muscles that fade with time, like any other scar, especially if you treat them right. And also, if you work out your pec muscles, and they get bigger. The scars kind of become more and more underneath that muscle, and you can't see them as much. So there's good motivation to work out. um, yeah, so that's that. It's really not too hard of a process, but I'm super super happy to have that done. Obviously, it's changed my life. um, so yeah, I haven't done a video in a while, and I kind of want to talk about maybe like I think partially I don't even know, but I think partially a reason is this whole thing that I kind of call the trans conundrum, and I think a lot of trans people experience this. At least people I've talked to have. And basically, what that is it's kind of like after a certain point in your transition, not too long into it, actually, most people just recognize you and treat you and perceive you as a male in society, which is what you want, right? I mean, that's the goal for a lot of trans people. That's what they they want to be and want to be treated as and perceived as. Um, and but at the same time, I think, at least for me, and I think you know, for other people, for other trans people, you are still being trans is such a big part of your life, especially the later you transition in your life. If you're already in your 20s or your 30s or even your 40s or 50s, like you have this other whole huge part to your life that's your past and your history, and you kind of don't. I mean, it's hard to hide it, and you sometimes you don't want to, and also you want people sometimes to like. Yeah, I don't know. There's a certain um, it's kind of like for being gay. Like when people more and more people felt it was safe to come out, more and more people knew someone that was gay, and more people, once you know someone personally, it's kind of like not a big deal. You're exposed to them, exposure therapy. You get used to it, and it's not such a weird weird thing or anymore. So I think most people don't know a trans person, first of all, because there is less of us, but if you do, maybe someone, like there's people that know me, they don't know I'm trans. So I kind of feel like in a way it's my duty to like tell them and to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm visible, I'm a trans person. But at the same time, it's weird because you meet someone and then you're not like, hi, I'm trans. You're just you, and you like to be perceived as a regular guy, regular male. But then there comes a point when you're like, oh, should I tell them? Should I not tell them? Is that gonna be weird? Are they gonna hate me? Or like, it's a strange situation because you don't have anything on you that's like, hey, I'm trans. You don't have to like say it. So it's weird. It's kind of like I want people to know that I am trans at the same time that I don't want them to know. And so I just think it's therein lies the conundrum. So I think that's just like a lifelong process of figuring out how to go about that, and I think it'll probably get easier. I mean, it already has gotten easier, just as time time goes on, you get more comfortable in who you are, and you get more comfortable in telling people, and it probably will get easier, hopefully, in the future for most trans people. So yeah, but that's just something I never thought about in the beginning of transitioning. It just never occurred to me, and it started to become pretty apparent to me in the last like half a year. And most people probably don't think about that. So there's like a kind of a yeah, an interesting thing for trans people, just because we can blend in, and that really doesn't happen with most other minorities. Um, yeah, and then the last thing I kind of want to talk about was something that I think that a lot of trans people, and myself included, like struggle with this or deal with this. It has to do with just comparing ourselves to like cisgendered people. Cisgendered meaning people that are not trans, people that are born in the right body, do not feel like they're transgendered. And I think that it happens a lot of times for trans guys or trans women too, to compare themselves um, to other females or males and say like, oh, I'm not male enough, or I'm not like man enough, or I'm not woman enough. Um, and I think we're constantly comparing to that as if that cisgender is the ideal, um, is the ultimate thing that you can be. Whereas I think it might be helpful for us to think about gender like we think about sexuality, which is to say, I think we're starting to think of it on a spectrum. Some people are gay, some people are bi or pansexual, or they just like the person. They just like the person, or they mostly like men, but there's a woman they fell in love with, and whatever. I mean, there's just so many different ways to be, and I think it'd be cool if and helpful to a lot of people if we saw gender that way. Especially, I know I've had a ton of people contact me after publicly posting my transition and asking me questions about knowing if I'm trans or not, and some people said they felt maybe they were, or maybe they were in the middle, or somewhere like not quite that they wanted to fully transition. And it's like I feel like there's got to be a ton of people that are on the spectrum, and it would be super helpful if we just had other um, maybe names, or like even just like you know terms for like different genders, or maybe even if you could like, I mean, this people are gonna not agree with this, but or maybe they'll think it sounds crazy, but even if you could just like be both, a little bit of both, or I don't know, it's so we don't have a system like that now, so it's hard to say how that would work, but I think it would help me, and it would help a lot of I think people on the spectrum if we did have a spectrum for gender. Um, and I think that I have for myself personally, I know I believe there is a spectrum, and I am obviously on that spectrum, and I think that like I have to constantly remind myself that it's okay to be like not super manly, or whatever that means, and that my position is unique, and that I have got to experience a little bit of both genders, if you will, and that it's not all or nothing, and it's okay to have this variant in between. So it's hard to explain it, but you kind of get the idea. So yeah, that's something that I'm sure will also be another lifelong process of just defining yourself and being comfortable in that, and yeah, hopefully we can work towards more of a gender spectrum. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of it for me. It's really all I have to say now, but maybe I'll try to post a picture um, of maybe a couple months down the road of the what my chest looks like when it's a little more healed and not so gnarly, so that you can kind of see what that looks like. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for listening, guys.